Have you ever stopped to think that the secret to your posture, your balance, maybe even some of those weird aches and pains might be, well, right underneath you? It turns out the very shape of your feet can tell us a whole lot about your body's entire structure.
So what exactly are your feet telling you? We're about to look at a few really simple, visible signs that can reveal a surprising amount about the foundation you're standing on, literally, every single day. And I think you might be surprised by what you find out.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Your feet support your entire weight. They absorb shock every time you take a step, and they're what propel you forward. This whole complex setup is absolutely critical for your balance and your posture. Even a tiny change in this foundation can send ripple effects all the way up your body. We're talking knees, hips, and yep, even your back.
And that's exactly why understanding this is so important. So we're going to move from just the idea of the foot as a foundation to actually recognizing some common and pretty visible signs of different foot structures.
Okay, so check this out. This image actually comes from a textbook for aesthetic professionals. But here's the thing. Even though it was made for a specific field, the ability to recognize these basic shapes, well, that's valuable knowledge for literally everyone.
All right, let's start with one of the most common variations you'll see, the flat foot, or as it's called in our source material, piede piatto.
And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, right? A flat foot is when that main arch that runs along the inside of your foot, the plantar arch, just kind of flattens out or collapses, making way more contact with the ground than you typically see.
And this image just lays it all out perfectly. Look on the left. You see that nice, gentle curve of a normal arch? But then look to the right. That's the flat foot. See how the whole bottom of the foot is almost completely touching the ground? It's a super clear visual difference.
So where does this come from? Well, it can be congenital, which just means you're born with it, or it can be acquired, meaning it develops over time. This could be from things like an injury, just getting older, or long-term stress on the feet.
Okay, now let's flip to the complete other end of the spectrum. If a flat foot is a collapsed arch, what do you think the opposite is? Yep, it's the high arch, or piede cavo.
This is a foot where that same arch is way higher or more pronounced than average. So instead of collapsing down, it's really curved up, creating this super high arch. And just look at the diagram here. You can immediately see that really dramatic high curve of the cava foot. But, and this is just as important, look at the footprint next to it. See how narrow it is in the middle? That tells you that a lot less of the foot is actually touching the ground, which concentrates all that pressure on just the ball of the foot and the heel.
So let's just put them side by side to make it crystal clear. You've got the flat foot with its low collapsed arch and a wide base of support. And then you've got the cavo foot with its super high arch and a really narrow base of support. They are literally structural opposites. Now our source also highlights a third and very different kind of alteration. This isn't just about how high or low the arch is. This is clubfoot, or piede torto.
The key phrase here is permanent deformation. Unlike arch height, which can sometimes be flexible, clubfoot is a fixed twisting of the foot that completely changes how it meets the ground. It often involves the bones and tendons, making it a much more complex condition.
Okay, so now that we can recognize these different shapes, what do you actually do with that information? This next step is, without a doubt, the most important part.
And this, right here, is the biggest takeaway from our source material. Being able to spot these signs is awesome, it's super useful, but please remember, you are observing a characteristic, you are not making a medical diagnosis. So, the bottom line is this: if any of these shapes look familiar to you, whether it's on your own feet or someone else's, the next, and really the only step, is to go talk to a professional. They're the ones who can do a proper evaluation and figure out what's going on and what, if anything, needs to be done about it.
And who are these specialists? Well, our source recommends a few key people: a podiatrist, who is a foot specialist, an orthopedist, who deals with the whole musculoskeletal system, or a physical therapist who can help with the biomechanical side of things.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? We just unlocked a whole new way of thinking about our bodies just by looking at the shape of a foot. It really makes you wonder, what other simple little details about ourselves could be telling a much, much bigger story about our health?